I'm fighting Gervonta Davis
Okay,
on
wow.
Netflix.
Let's go.
People think that he could actually beat me, and people think he could outbox me, and he's so powerful and this and that. That's what makes it a good fight. November 14th, Netflix.
It's kind of weird because Jake Paul is extremely bigger than Tank, and I mean, but with it being a exhibition, it makes sense. It's fine. He got a big name.
Boxing experts criticized the Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis matchup as a blatant mismatch and a money grab. Amir Khan was among the loudest voices, calling the fight unfair and dangerous, pointing out that Paul's smaller size put him at a serious disadvantage. Khan also slammed the promoters, accusing them of exploiting the situation purely for entertainment and profit.
Really bad mismatch. And you know what? Whoever the promoter is and that's agreed Gervonta to fight, and whoever the promoter is to fight for Jake Paul to say fight this little man. I mean, that's wrong, man. I mean, that's just like torturing someone. Yeah, I mean, going in there and hurting someone is just not fair on Davis.
Khan even suggested that Davis might be taking the fight due to personal legal issues or financial pressures, possibly seeing it as an easy way out. He concluded by warning that matchups like this are damaging boxing's credibility and doing more harm than good for the sport.
This is in. I heard they've been having a lot of legal problems and been arrested a couple of times for a couple of felonies and stuff I've seen with his ex-wife and stuff. So you know what? You don't know what's going through his head. Maybe he just wants to cash up and walk away from the sport. And maybe this is a great opportunity for him where he's seen this fight come up and he's like, fuck it, I'll take it. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I think they're making boxing a joke, really.
Amir Khan has warned that dangerous mismatches like Jake Paul versus Gervonta Tank Davis could lead to serious injuries, potentially harming boxing's long-term reputation. The fight drew heavy backlash from analysts, former champions, and passionate fans, many condemning it as a clear mismatch. Paul's inexperience and natural size difference compared to Davis made it a risky spectacle rather than a fair contest. Veteran journalist Dan Rafael also voiced concerns, emphasizing the importance of weight classes in boxing to ensure safety and fairness. He pointed out that while Paul's size advantage over Mike Tyson was notable, the difference against Davis is even more pronounced, especially considering Davis's superior skill level. Rafael's perspective highlights how these mismatches challenge boxing's traditional safeguards.
But that doesn't mean that you should be having a lightweight fighting a cruiserweight / heavyweight. So it'll be an exhibition fight. Now, whether they go all out and try to win, I guess we'll have to see. You know, some people would think maybe it turns out like other exhibitions we've seen where it doesn't have the excitement because they're not truly going for it, like Jake Paul and Tyson. Now it was an official fight, not an exhibition, because they were on similar terms in terms of the weight.
Rafael acknowledged that while exhibition fights can be healthy for the sport, matching a featherweight against a cruiserweight still raises serious competitive concerns. He noted that the fight might not have been as intense as expected, with both fighters possibly holding back to avoid serious injury. Rafael compared it to Jake Paul's bout with Mike Tyson, pointing out that Paul admitted on video he wasn't trying to knock Tyson out, despite it being a legitimate fight and with relatively closer weight classes.
Boxing has, for the entirety of its existence, you know, relied upon weight classes. You can't now all of a sudden here in 2025 have, as you said, a heavyweight / cruiserweight, a Jake Paul that's 200 pounds, fought Mike Tyson close to 227 pounds, taken on in an official fight a Tank Davis, who is a tremendously skilled boxer and a lot more experience as a professional than Jake Paul is, and you know, was a multi-division world champion and one of the better fighters in the entire sport.
Russ Amber strongly condemned the Gervonta Davis versus Jake Paul fight, questioning how regulatory bodies and major organizations could permit such a clearly uneven matchup. He argued that disregarding weight classes and fair competition tarnishes the integrity of boxing. Beyond ethics, Amber warned of the serious risk of physical injury to Paul, given Davis's size, experience, and devastating punching power.
I just don't understand it. I don't understand how even a company like a streaming service like Netflix gets even behind something like this. How an athletic commission, because now you have to wonder what is the integrity of an athletic commission that you're allowing a cruiserweight to step into the ring with a lightweight. How you're allowing a lightweight to do that and avoid you know, his mandatories and the fights he has to make and the other guys in the division.
Amber described the fight as more of a circus than a genuine contest, an attempt to generate wealth rather than a true sporting event. He suggested that the focus on entertainment overshadowed the core values of boxing, where skill and evenly matched talent should always come first. His view reflects a deep respect for boxing tradition, prioritizing genuine competition over spectacle.
I know it's about a question of money that, you know, it's just like, well, this is easy money. Because I'll tell you what, if if Gervonta Davis hits him, you know, there could be a problem here. There could be a serious problem because this guy can really fight. So I just don't even know how we're looking at that in this day and age where you're just putting on just freak sideshow circus type fights, and we're supposed to be behind it and say, yeah, this is good. Maybe I'm just from another era that I just don't see it that way.
One of the biggest concerns around the fight was the clear physical mismatch. Jake Paul with his naturally larger cruiserweight frame versus the smaller Tank Davis. Wade Plemons, host of the Wade Concept, argued that from a boxing perspective, the matchup made little sense. While Paul has worked to position himself as a serious boxer, this fight won't advance that goal. Instead, Plemons believes it risks alienating both hardcore boxing fans and the fighters' camps. He described it as walking a tightrope between gaining notoriety and facing ridicule, playing well with casual fans but losing respect from purists.
An exhibition, and when this was rumored to happen months ago and I was saying it was a nonsensical fight for Jake to do, I still think it's a nonsensical one from a boxer perspective, from his goals in boxing perspective. But again, if it makes dollars, it makes sense, and we've seen that Jake will kind of bounce in between doing these entertainment fights and then, you know, trying to push toward his goal of you know, ingraining himself in the sport of boxing, and kind of does both of them. So it's kind of a weird place to be, because he wants the respect of the boxing fans and the boxing hierarchy and hardcore boxing people, but at the same time, he'll gain some of that and then lose some of it. It's like a seesaw of his fights. Like one fight, like, okay, that's a real fight. Or
alongside the size concerns, there were worries about the impact on Gervonta Davis's career trajectory. Davis had built his reputation on solid technique, terrifying punching power, and top-tier title wins. For many, taking a fight against Jake Paul, a social media star with little boxing pedigree, seemed pointless and a step backward that could tarnish his legacy if things went wrong. Critics argued that losing to someone so much younger and significantly smaller would be a huge blow for a fighter of Davis's caliber. Trainer Greg Hackett, who closely follows Davis's career, initially expressed disbelief at the matchup, feeling like Davis had lost his way. But after reflecting, Hackett acknowledged the financial reality behind such decisions, joking that at those levels of money, every fighter takes the payday.
Saw that they was instead of him fighting Lamont, he'd be fighting Jake, whatever. At first I was like, damn, Tank, like that's kind of crazy, like. But then I started thinking about it throughout the day. I'm thinking about it. I'm seeing the posts, and I'm like, yo, none of this is guaranteed.
Despite all the negative press surrounding the matchup, Hackett remained optimistic about the outcome. He expected Davis's superior skills, speed, and ring IQ to make it relatively easy for him to control the fight. Hackett predicted that Tank would go the distance initially, then likely finish Jake Paul with a knockout, probably by the 8th round.
At the end of the day, man, he taking a shot at some money. We all wish we could have made that kind of money. I don't understand the issue. He could come back and fight whoever he want after that. His career is not over just because you fighting Jake Paul. Jake Paul ain't no type of fucking demon. It's not like he about to go in there with Godzilla. You about to play around for 8 rounds, 2 minutes with a dickhead. You know what I mean? No disrespect. But, you know, with somebody that think they know how to fight.
MMA organizations like the UFC strictly prevent weight class mismatches or pitting pro fighters against entertainers like YouTubers, prioritizing safety and respect for the sport. In contrast, Amir Khan criticizes boxing for turning into a spectacle, warning that these kinds of fights seriously damage the sport's integrity.
One thing you're not going to see in UFC, that they're going to go and fight some YouTuber, or a YouTuber's going to fight a UFC lightweight or like a featherweight, for example, or a bantamweight, whatever you want to call it. See, they respect that, because there you can get hurt badly. Whereas with boxing, I think people are just making a joke of the sport.
Amir Khan emphasized that Gervonta Davis should be focusing on competitive fights against elite fighters within his own weight class. He named Teofimo Lopez, Shakur Stevenson, Ryan Garcia, and Devin Haney as legitimate contenders who would not only challenge Davis but also help enhance his legacy, unlike mismatched spectacle fights that tarnish the sport. On the other hand, Nonito Donaire offered a more optimistic view, seeing the fight as a positive for boxing's growth. He believed it could be entertaining and draw a large audience. Donaire also acknowledged Jake Paul's progress, noting that Paul could actually compete with a skilled fighter like Davis, which would showcase how far he's come in the sport.
This is a moment where you just have to embrace what's coming, and that's social media, that's entertainment. That's people that just don't even know about it, but there's a big name in it and they're gonna watch the fight, right? So exhibition and all of that stuff, this is the time for it. If you don't grow, guess what? You're gonna be like all those stores that close down. And this is part of it. And in boxing, it's helping boxing out because it's putting more eyes in boxing. Boxing becomes more of the entertainment when it comes down to it. So I'm all for it, you know, and however it is, I mean, you got a fighter that's been fighting all his life and a fighter who's been fighting 5, 6, 7 years but has learned. So
Shakur Stevenson criticized the fight, saying it lacked real substance and felt more like a spectacle than a serious contest. He argued that matchups like this damage boxing's credibility by drawing attention away from top-level fights. Stevenson believes the growing focus on flashy, mismatched bouts with circus-like sideshows is taking away from the quality and integrity of the sport.
What do you think about the rumors of Tank and Jake fight now?
Man, Tank disrespectful to the sport if he choose that over fighting with me. I'm the best fighter in the sport. I've been telling him that. And he called cap on it. So if you gonna call cap and say I'm not who I say I am, come prove it.
Previously, Stevenson expressed little belief in Jake Paul's chances against Gervonta Tank Davis. He highlighted that Tank has been a true boxer from an early age, consistently facing top competition to sharpen his skills and weed out weaknesses. In contrast, Stevenson pointed out that Jake was still struggling with basic fundamentals, making the gap in skill and experience far too wide for the fight to be taken seriously.
I mean, size will play some part of the fight, but if I'm thinking like I'm Tank, I'm probably just gonna go out there and try to outbox him and use my knowledge and IQ against him. So I can see Tank just outboxing him and making it real easy. I'm not shocked. I mean, his last fight when he fought Lamont, Jake Paul was at the fight. He told y'all he was gonna fight somebody like Jake Paul. So I'm not shocked. It don't surprise me. So
this fight marks a pivotal moment as Jake Paul prepares to face Gervonta Davis, a world champion widely regarded as one of the most dangerous and accomplished pound-for-pound fighters. While Paul's size might give him some advantage, Davis's superior technical skill, ring IQ, and experience will likely pose a significant challenge. This matchup is sure to divide boxing fans. Some believe Paul's physical build could help him compete better than expected, while others see it as a clear mismatch where experience will ultimately decide the outcome. Dave Allen weighed in, acknowledging that Jake Paul isn't a bad fighter considering his limited experience. He praised Paul's hard work and dedication, though professionals still view him as not quite at the top level. Allen suggested that making money from the fight is fine, so long as no one suffers serious injury.
But I think his area title level, I think he works really hard, I think he trains hard. And I don't think he's a bad fighter at all. I don't think he's I don't think he's a good fighter, but he's not a bad fighter. For his experience, he's not bad at all.
However, Allen also called the fight silly, pointing out that Gervonta Davis is in the prime of his career, and this isn't the kind of matchup fans want to see. He said he wouldn't pay to watch it and described the fight as nonsense that distracts from serious, meaningful bouts in boxing.
Gervonta Davis is a lightweight. So, by all means, if they make a few quid and nobody gets hurt, then great, but I certainly wouldn't be paying a penny to watch it. I think it's just absolutely ridiculous, farcical. Who wants to watch an exhibition? Gervonta Davis is in his prime years. Why is he wasting his time?
Dave Allen shared his thoughts on Gervonta Davis taking part in a crossover fight, acknowledging the huge financial incentives, but warning it could come at the cost of Davis's legacy. He questioned whether Davis truly wants to chase greatness, or if money is his main focus right now. Trainer Bob Santos added perspective, noting that the fight is designed to generate public interest and attract a wide audience. While purists may dislike the matchup, Santos admitted there's real intrigue in a Davis versus Paul fight, especially in terms of skill. He also pointed out Davis faces a clear size disadvantage. Ultimately, Santos emphasized it's not about whether the fight is good on paper, but about who can execute their strengths when the lights go on.
Obviously, it's an exhibition, but like anything in life, you know what I mean? When you get guys, I'll say this, in an NBA game, right? There's something on the line and so forth, and it's going to go in the record books in terms of being official. But you know, sometimes when you play basketball one-on-one with somebody in the backyard, sometimes that can get more chippy and physical than anything, or just like, you know what I mean? Even some of the sparring sessions sometimes, they might not be official, but some of the sparring sessions are more brutal than the fights themselves. And I have a distinct feeling that both guys are going to want to put on a show. And it's going to be very interesting, Gervonta's skills versus his size.
Yeah. Now, the voices are out, weighing in on one of the most talked about matchups in recent memory. Is it a bold move to bring new exposure to the sport, or a risky gamble that could undermine boxing's credibility? One thing's for sure, we're only scratching the surface of this debate. When Fight Night arrives in just a few weeks, we'll finally get some answers, or at least come closer to them. What do you think? Is this fight good for boxing's future or bad? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that like button, and subscribe for more fight analysis.